UK franchise industry. And this is the show where we get to hear what's under the hat of some of the top brands in the UK and in the world. And this is a live format. Well, it's live if it's about 5:15 for about 45 minutes on December 19th, 2024. So if you are here live, pop a question in. Ask a question, because this is, if you're trying to decide which franchise is right for you, then this is for you. This is about trying to find out what is behind the brochures, and who the people behind these wonderful brands are, because it will help you align as to whether this is the right path for you. So that's exactly what we do. We try and find out the stories, and we find out all about the lovely people that are behind these brands. And the brand story that we are going to hear today, for the second time actually, is Diddi Dance with the wonderful Anne-Marie Martin. Anne-Marie, welcome back to Franchising Brand Stories.
Thank you for having me back. It's an honour to be a returning guest.
You're most welcome, and it's an honour to have you on as well. So, for people who don't know, we would like to start by trying to describe what Diddi Dance is. I mean, from the title, we know it's about dancing, but perhaps you could give people a description of what Diddi Dance is from your point of view, and and what it's all about.
Of course. Well, it's for little people. It's for the under 5. So we do baby and toddler dance classes, and we explore lots of different dance styles from around the world. So every half term, we actually explore a different dance style. So babies and toddlers and their grown-ups get to explore that dance style and all of its benefits.
Fantastic. A great description of it, and it's really important to understand. Again, if you're a potential franchisee listening to this, to understand, first of all, what the business is. But it's also good to understand sort of where you're at as a business right now. Now, this is not us going back in time, because we're going to do that in a minute. But in terms of sort of number of franchisees and whereabouts in the UK you can be found, where are you at right now as a business?
So we've got 40 franchisees, some partnerships, and we range from Sunderland down to Plymouth. We've been going 21 years this year, 22 years as we go into 2025. And we've got our franchisees come from all different backgrounds. Some of them are ex-dancers, ex-teachers. We've had people from various different early years workers and people in the nursery sector. So they come from a range of different backgrounds, but they're all building their businesses in what we've now got as management franchise options or owner-operator franchise territories.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, it's great to hear. So your journey, you've been about for a good amount of time in franchising, quite the journey. We've got a few people here with us live already. So let's say hello to a few people who have joined us live. We have the lovely Ed Purnell with us, and he's got a little bit French here. So he's put bonjour, Anne-Marie. Well, look, that's very good. Multilingual here on Franchising Brand Stories. And we've got the ever wise Simon Wise, and he's put hello, franchise friends. So it's great to have you here, Simon. And we've got the lovely Cole Dakin here, and he's put in a question which we are going to definitely come to during the middle part of the show as well. Great to have all three of you here that are in the comments. Looking forward to hearing everyone's comments as we get into today's episode. Now, before we are going to take you back in time now, but before we do that, if you have just joined us today, this is Franchising Brand Stories, brought to you by Franret, the specialist staff and executive recruiter to the UK's franchise industry. And today we are hearing the brand story behind Diddi Dance. So it's been a great start to the show, and we are now about to go back in time. So Where did it all begin? And we need to talk about Brian Adams now. This is the time. So frame this however you want, but we're going to get into Brian Adams at some point during
Oh,
this bit.
okay. So, I mean, I've got to try and remember everything now, 'cause getting to that age. But basically, I started dancing from a very early age. I had lots of energy, and my mum took me along to a local dance class, and I loved it. And that was where my love of dance came from. Fast forward through school, and I did A-level dance, and then I went on and did a degree in dance as well. And my dissertation specialised in dance movement therapy and dance in special educational needs. Then, when I graduated in the late 90s, I was then fortunate enough to get lots of dancing jobs and performed all over the world. I was a resident with a contemporary dance company at the Royal Opera House. I did the Brit Awards. I've done Top of the Pops. That's how old I am. And various
You don't
music.
look it at all.
And one of the music videos that I did actually went to #1, and it was Chicane featuring Brian Adams.
Here
So
we
we were all dressed in sort of black outfits, and it was sort of like this robotic, almost like a zombie-like factory that we were all in. We were just there, glazed over. It was called Don't Give Up, and Don't Give It Up. And during the shoot, it was a very long day in a very cold studio in East London. And Brian was there himself. And he is absolutely lovely. He was just getting into his photography at the time. And so I was so fortunate to just sit down and have a really lovely chat to him. He was telling me all about his photography and everything that he was doing. And he was just so down to earth and welcoming and talkative. It was, yeah, absolute pleasure.
Oh wow! And what a claim to fame that is, to be dancing with Brian Adams. That's definitely one I haven't got. It'd be strange if I did, actually.
You never know. You jump up on stage with him when you went to see him.
Well, that's it. You never know in the future whether that could be something. We'll talk about my claim to fame one day. Okay,
Oh,
that's a little teaser, isn't it? Look, we've got some great questions actually. This is all about our community and everyone who's around us, and our conversation is going to be directed by our wonderful audience. So let's have a look. We've got a few here. Let's take one from Simon first. We've got another good one coming up from Ed Purnell and one from Carl as well. So Simon has put, it's great to hear about the management franchise. Is that becoming more popular for attracting a different type of franchisee to Diddi Dance?
actually, it's sort of a flip reverse. So our franchise territories have always been management size, and we've had quite a few franchisees come on board that have taken it on and really run with it and extended their territory as well and just managed it and then brought on teachers. But actually, what we were finding in the last year was that I think that size of territory was almost becoming a bit too overwhelming. So our offering is one of the low cost franchise offerings. So many of us in the children's activities sector, we attract people that are looking for that flexible, part-time, working around family life role. And I think the management offering that we were having was almost a little bit too overwhelming for some people. So we decided to then reduce that territory and offer our Diddi franchise. And so this is a smaller territory, definitely focusing on the owner operator element of the franchise. And so whilst we've got 40 franchisees at the moment, actually we've got over 50 territories because a lot of those current franchisees were actually management franchisees who've extended. And so now we are offering the smaller one, and we've got a couple coming through at the moment that will one more management and one Diddi franchise coming on board.
Oh, fantastic. It's great to know you've got that flexibility for those different approaches. And, a management franchise is often something that a franchisee is going to want to emulate towards, and, the growth of the business. It's always good to have that. Thanks so much for your question there, Simon. It's a great question, and we enjoyed answering that. Let's have a little look, actually. We don't tend to go too much into the financial elements of this, okay? But you did mention there it's a lower cost franchise. Perhaps without getting into too much of the details of the funding parts of it, perhaps if you could say it's sub X amount, and then maybe touch upon how you help and assist people in the sort of the financial elements of getting this up and running.
Yeah, of course. So, yes, we're known as a low cost franchise, or some people refer to it as a credit card franchise. So, us franchises that are under 10,000, that's what we're usually
Sure.
classed as. And so, a lot of our franchisees, some of them come on board just with savings or 0% credit card. We've got links with, we are already approved by various high street banks, so their franchise departments. We've gone through all of that process, and they would approve Diddi Dance as a franchise lender. And also Startup Loans UK has been a good one. A lot of franchisees have gone there as well for a small amount of funding they may have needed.
Oh, okay. That's great to hear, because I think sometimes, especially as we're trying to attract younger people into franchising, I know that the recent BFA survey found that the average age was, I think it was in late 40s. And, we need to attract younger people to
Mm.
franchising. And I think capital is often a barrier to bring younger people into franchising, because experience not necessarily is the barrier, because franchising offers that model, it offers training, it offers support, but finance can often be a barrier. I will say, Carl is from the US and specializes in funding. So if you're in the US, Carl would certainly help you, and a good friend of mine as well. So great to have you here, Carl. And thanks for that question, and thanks for answering that so concisely, Marie. Um, let's 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 put up a question here from Ed. Actually, I like this one. Ed has put in a question, and he said, "Who would you say is your business inspiration?"
I
It's
saw that come in, and I don't know. It sounds maybe a little bit naive, but I don't know if I have necessarily a
I mean,
business.
I would say that this question, it doesn't necessarily mean that this person has to be in business, but I suppose this question could also be who inspired you to start your business? What inspired you to take that leap of faith to start not just the franchise business, but the business at the beginning? Because it always takes a leap of faith. It's
Yeah,
always hard
definitely.
to do that.
I think again from an early age, I always knew that I wanted to have my own dance business in some sense. But I think when I was a child, it was just, I presumed I'd just have a local dance school and build it up for all different ages. And I definitely taught all ages. And before I moved into the preschool market, adults and school age children as well. I think when you see lots of amazing dancers that perform, and then I think when I was doing my degree and working in special educational needs schools and exploring more about dance movement therapy, I think that really ignited something in me, that it's so much more than just dancing. It's the benefits that it has, not only for our physical, but for our mental health as well. So our social, emotional well-being as well. I think that sparked something in me that I wanted to make sure that what I was offering in my teaching practice was going beyond just let's have a fun dance class, which is what I always wanted it to be. When I started Diddy Dance, I'd um, I was working in a play centre as well, so teaching the older children and adults evenings and weekends. And then during the week, I was teaching in this play centre, and a lot of the adults were saying that they'd taken their little 2, 3, 4 year olds to the local dance school, which was quite a formal drop off dance school. And they were coming out, go, I don't want to do dance, it's too scary. And that again then ignited something else. So I thought, right, this is a real responsibility here. This is that child's first impression of a dance class. And I can't have children coming out going, that's scary, or that was too disciplined, and it was all very formal. So they
Mm.
said, you know, you're a dancer. Can you do something in the preschool for these toddlers? And I was like, leave it with me, because I just wanted their first experience of a dance class to be a really fun enjoyment, because that is what dance is. It is so good for lifting your mood. You know, during the pandemic, I just did free lives all the time, not just for Diddy Dance customers, but for all ages as well. I did all these dance lives on TikTok just to get people moving while we were in lockdown, where you couldn't
Mm.
leave your
Yeah.
house. Let's get some music on, let's get dancing. And so I think for me, it sounds cheesy, but almost dance is the inspiration of what the benefits are to it.
No, I love that. I mean, some things you said there really resonated with me personally, actually. I'm no dancer. I'm going to have to say this. And when you said there about it being scary, I remember when I was a kid feeling that way. And I
Mm,
don't think it's changed that much as an adult, if I'm really honest. I think so. I think that it's really relevant to instill that young, that it's fun. And
yeah,
because I see people doing it and I think that looks fun. I'd love to be doing that and feeling that way. I can see what it feels like. But I think that's often instilled at a very young age as well. So I think it's really, really key that you saw that
yeah,
and have tried to make things better and work well in terms of introducing really young people to dancing. It's just important at that first stage, isn't it? So yeah,
yeah. I
love
mean,
that.
don't get me wrong, and I see it a lot more in the maybe since the pandemic, I see a lot more. It's dance. When you're asking someone, you put on music and you're asking them to move in a room full of people they don't know. It's very intimidating, of course it is, and it can be very overwhelming. So we do see a lot of children come in, and it can take one or two or sometimes three or four lessons before they really get into it, because it's just a little bit like, okay. And I'd say a lot of times to the grown-ups, imagine I put you in a room in front, like you've just said, I put you in a room full of people you don't know for the first time, put
Mm,
some music on, and tell you to just move your body.
mm.
That's quite intimidating. So it's just one of those things that I'm not saying they all come in immediately and it's like, yay, but usually by the end of that first class, they're having a little bit of fun, and then as they go on, they just blossom
Feed
in
and
confidence.
feed. I think this is really important conversation here. If you're a franchisee listening to this conversation, the reason that this is so important as a conversation, because the passion that you show about getting young people into that feeling of enjoying dancing is a big part of the enjoyment of running the franchise.
Mm,
That's a big part of changing people's lives. And to dance like no one's looking, or to dance like no one cares, is a very freeing thing, isn't it? I do
yeah,
remember as an adult going to a masquerade ball, where you put on a mask there. And the interesting thing about that is it releases perhaps some of that freedom you had as a child before you got some of those reservations. So I love it.
yeah.
Let's have a look. Yeah, we've got a couple more people here. Let's say hello, and we've got a question coming in from Simon. So we've got Paul Sims here, and he's put hello, friends from Pittsburgh. Great to have you here. We've got the lovely Sanjay, and now Sanjay is an expert funding um, person here in the UK. So please reach out to Sanjay, lovely chap as well. Let's have a look at this question from Simon. And Simon's put, Amory, looking at your top 3 franchisees, is the one trait that they all share in common? This is a great question. We often get into sort of skills of experience or characters, because again, if you're a potential franchisee listening to this and you're thinking, is this me? Can you try and sort of think about who that is, and so that people can see if that fits into them?
Um, as I said earlier, we've got people that come in from lots of different backgrounds. I think one thing we always look for is passion. Like you said, I'm really passionate about dance in early years and about the responsibility that we have for any activity in early years of, doing it correctly. So, because this is their firsts, these are the things that by the age of 5 they will have formed habits to do to take them on into later life. So passion is key. But we've had some amazing franchisees that were ex dancers, because like myself, I think once you've gone through the life of a performer, so I say dancer, but actually any performer, theatre, singer, once you've gone through that hustle in life, where sometimes you walk into an audition before you've even danced and you're turned away, that resilience you build and that drive you build is great. So all ex performers that have come on board have been fantastic. And also ex teachers, they've got such amazing skills, and their passion is obviously there for working with children. And sadly they leave the profession for various overworked reasons and come to us where they still have that passion for working with children, but they find that flexibility. They've got such amazing skills of drive and organization, and just passion for children is really great. So I think the word I keep repeating there does seem to be passion. Obviously anybody who's looking for franchisees is always going to want self-motivated and driven. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
for us, when you are working with this age group, it definitely passion is the key.
Yeah, absolutely, and it comes across. It comes across in our conversation, the passion that you had, and if you've got that, the other things around that, especially with the support of a franchise model, other franchisees, a franchisor, those things can be supported and trained to a degree, but some of those characteristics that you talked about there, particularly the word passion,
Yeah,
resilience as well, you mentioned there.
yeah,
You mentioned about having those auditions, being turned down before you even begin,
yeah,
when you've got yourself excited about something, right?
yeah,
That builds up resilience, and that resilience is useful. It's really, in fact,
yeah,
sometimes vital,
yeah.
because not every day is going to be good.
No,
Some days are going to be really tough.
you've got to have that, because if it's something that you love doing, there's that saying, do something you love and you never work a day in your life. That there's such, it's overused now, but there's such truth in that. But I think going back to the whole dance and movement thing as well, I think what once you're up and running, we're a lifestyle franchise, so lots of them that are actually teaching the classes as well, things come up in life, and you have to have that resilience to get through and to keep going. But also I think the element that you are going and doing something you love, that you are benefiting from mentally and physically as well. I remember post um post birth for both of my children, when I wasn't teaching, I definitely noticed that dip in my mental health or my mood. And once I got dancing again and teaching it again, you're lifted by that. There's loads of research out there that actually exercise, movement, dance is
Mm.
prescribed now to help people in so many different ways. So I think a lot of the franchisees in our network that have gone through things, once they find themselves getting back into the teaching again, it's almost really therapeutic for them as well.
Mm. I think it's so right that you said there about movement, exercise, all of the fresh air, and dancing very much comes into that,
Mm.
and I think everyone that I see enjoying dancing, whatever age they are, you can see that when they break through into that freedom they feel with it. It's a very powerful human thing we do. I mean, I say humans, animals dance as well to a degree,
Yeah,
I suppose, but
yeah. Well, we started. Well, we've been doing it for quite a few years, but we've started an amazing collaboration actually doing more intergenerational classes now as well. So we take the preschoolers and their grown-ups into care homes now. And that, when you talk about the benefits and you see the elderly as well, the residents of the care home, where maybe on the first session they're, what are we doing here? What's all this ribbon business and hula hoops? And then you go in again, and they've got the little ones that, oh, it's all a bit noisy. And then week after week, not only is the research shown to, help them emotionally and mentally as well, but physically you see their posture improve. You suddenly, that they may have sat down for weeks, suddenly get up and join in. It's such a powerful thing to see, even for the elderly as well.
Absolutely. We've got a good question coming up from Simon in a minute, so we're going to have a look at that one. I've got to ask, the little characters behind that are also in your logo, do they have names, those little characters?
They do.
What
So
are they
the
called?
pink one is Diddy Daisy, she, her. The blue one is Diddy Davy, he, him, and the green one is Diddy Danny, they, them.
Oh, excellent. With pronouns as well. Love it.
Well, yes. It's always been, it's something since the logo was developed all those years ago. But we've always had the ethos of fully inclusive dance, whether it is ability or pronouns. And
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly how it should be. Every single person, no matter where they're from, who they are, what age they are, how they identify, should be able to enjoy dancing in the way that anyone and everyone does and can enjoy it. So I
beauty of
love
dance,
that.
it brings everyone together, regardless. When we explore different dance styles, we are experiencing dance from different cultures from all around the world as well. We do lots of send sessions as well, and I personally do lots of work with the Limbless Association and through my friend Jack, who's known as the one leg dancer. So any sort of physical differences, it's just amazing that anybody can dance.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So it gives that freedom. It's wonderful. I like to. I love that. I love to hear that story and how those characters. Because when you think of a logo and you think of your brand, it's part of your story. But they're powerful little characters that mean a lot to the story of your brand, don't they? So
Yeah.
love it. Great. If you have just joined us today, this is Franchising Brand Stories, and today we are hearing what's under the hat of Diddi Dance. And we have the lovely Anne-Marie Martin from Diddi Dance here, and she has been sharing her wonderful story. There is a QR code on the screen right now. If you've just joined us, or if you catch a snippet in the future and you would like to watch the whole episode, then scan the QR code and it will take you right back to the full episode. Clever, isn't it? Let's have a look at a question that's come in from Simon. Simon's put, if someone is interested in becoming a Diddi Dance franchisee, what does the prospect journey look like right up to you awarding the franchise? I always think this is a great question to ask when you are a prospective franchisee and you're listening to this and you've heard the story and you're aligning with it and you love the sound of it and you feel like that you're the right person. You're then in your mind thinking, I wonder what's going to happen once I pick up that phone and make that call. And I think once you can picture what is going to happen up to the point where you're committed and you're getting on with your day to day, it's really important to build that picture. So what does that look like?
Yeah, of course. So we get inquiries from various different places and social media and our website. When that inquiry comes through, then I personally send them a quick email and just invite them to have a quick chat. I think it's good from the very beginning just to try and have a conversation, just to see where they're at, and then for them to ask me any questions straight away. Then, if that goes well and we feel quite aligned initially, then I send them over the prospectus, invite them to have a little read through that. If they want to then go ahead a little bit further, we invite them along for our online discovery session, where we go into more of the nuts and bolts about the franchise opportunity and the business. And then after that, we send them their disclosure pack, which they would then sign, send back. Once we do that, then we send them a template business plan, and this is for their due diligence to go away, do all their market research. But at this point, we've said like a provisional yes, this sounds good. You sound like you would be right for our brand, and I think from what I'm hearing, we could be the right brand for you. So they go away, do their business plan, explore all the market research, and see if they really do believe that they can make it a viable option, but also present to us that they really understand the business and
Okay, so they present back to you as well.
yes. So they would send that.
And at this point, at that point where they're presenting back and they've gone through these phone calls, discovery days, disclosure pack, have they had to commit in any kind of formal way yet, or is it still part of that ongoing conversation?
The only thing before we do the discovery day is they sign a confidentiality agreement at that point, because that's where we go into lots of nuts and bolts into the opportunity. Then after the disclosure pack has to be signed and sent back as well, because again, that's got lots of information in it, but also to say that they've understood and agreed to what is in there. And then once the business plan comes back, we then assess it and say yes, okay, everything seems great, and then send them their deposit agreement, then send them the template franchise agreement, and we always ask them to seek franchise legal advice on that, and then they're all happy, sign it, send it back, pay the fee, and we get all the training booked in.
Fantastic. It's really good to understand what that journey looks like as well, and to understand where that commitment sits in that journey. And it's obviously completely understandable that when you're disclosing information that you need to sign an NDA or whatever it might be, because of course. But what's great about it is you get to go quite a way along that journey before you get to that point where you pay a deposit and sign a franchise agreement and being fully committed. At that point, both they're going to be hopefully sure about your business and you're going to be sure about them. That word being aligned, which is again another one that's perhaps overused, but you really mean that there, because you've made a lot of efforts to get to know them to get to know you. At that point where the real decision, the final decision is being made.
Yeah, I would never take a penny off anyone until I really thought that we were potentially right for them and vice versa.
I like that. I really like the fact that there's that balanced approach. We often talk about awarding a franchise and what that means. But I like the fact that you've got a really balanced approach. You know, it really is between a franchisee wanting and you wanting, and that to meet in the middle in hopefully a really good way. So yeah, I love that. I think it would be great now. We've spoken now about what that journey looks like, right up to the point of everybody being aligned, I'm going to use that word again, and happy and ready to go ahead. And let's say someone does go ahead. And now what you really want to do, what I want to do for people is to build that picture of what their day-to-day could look like as a franchisee in various different forms. So perhaps we could touch upon a little bit as to what that day-to-day could look like, how it could fit in with somebody's lifestyle as well.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, initially we do lots of practical training. We have a 10-step launch manual, operations manual, everything is there. And we work really flexibly on that training as well, because we do appreciate that most of our franchisees have got families. And so I think what the wonderful world of the online taught us is that we can do things nice and hybrid now as well. So we do that whole training process really flexibly around them as well, but also so that they get time to start looking at venues and getting into their area, doing a bit more on the marketing and start pushing it. But the 10-step launch really helps them take everything in bite-sized chunks, so they're not just suddenly rushing in, and everybody in the head office team takes their area and trains them on that, which I'm sure everybody does. But it also gives them time, because we're a service-based business, is that they can start getting the wheels in motion as they go as well. So some franchisees open with 5-6 classes a week, some open with 1 or 2, but they tend to pick certain areas in their territory and focus on those first, with usually like a morning class, and just market those and get them going. Usually quite quickly, as demand builds, then you can run on back-to-back classes. We have a baby and a toddler offering now, so sometimes people take the whole morning, offering the 2 different age groups. So we tend to base trading projections on, if you were then to go full time, as in 5 or 6 days a week, but still only doing maybe 3 classes a day, 2 in the morning, 1 in an afternoon, then it's sort of, you can build up to that. But because we do send sessions, because we do the intergenerational ones, because we go into early year settings and reception age classes in schools as well, they can really work that timetable around how they want their lifestyle to be. I still teach myself. So so if you look at my week, I'm teaching Monday mornings. I go into an early year setting on Monday afternoon. I do nurseries on Tuesdays. I teach Wednesday morning. I have a Thursday off for admin, and then I teach Friday and I teach Saturday morning
Wow.
still. My family are all active. My daughter goes off to her theatre classes. My husband's football or golf, and my son's playing football. So I don't mind teaching Saturday mornings as well. It's actually my most popular day. So if you took me as an example, that's sort of what a week in a franchisee could look like.
That's great. And what an example to take. You know, you as a franchisor still sets the example, and still not just sets the example, you're not just doing it for that reason. You're doing it clearly because your original passion for teaching dancing still remains as strong as it ever did.
Yeah.
Right from when you were a child and wanted to run your own business and have your own dance school, you know, that still remains. And that's why, even as a franchisor and a business owner with lots of things that you have to do, you still want to teach. And it's
Yeah.
great because it allows you to stay in the business. It allows you to empathize and align and understand what franchisees are doing, but you enjoy it as well. And that's the most important thing.
I really love it. And I think I say to anybody, you've always got to play to your strengths as well. You know, my I did A-level dance. I did a degree in dance. That's what I'm good at. That's where my passion is. I love teaching. I think I'm good at it. My skill isn't for the finances and for all the business planning and all of the admin style stuff. That's not a strength of mine. It's not a desire or a strength. So that's where you bring those people in, who that is a big skill of theirs, and they are going to do that a lot better than you can. So I bring those in. But again, in the pandemic, when we all had to go online, and I didn't just sit there and go, oh, well, I'm sure we can do this. I was there doing it, holding hands with the franchisees, doing exactly what they were doing as well. And we keep developing new dance styles. When we developed in over the last few years and launched just over a year ago the baby classes, I was there doing them all as well, working with the experts to devise that as well. So for me, it was really important that I was
Mhm.
and still am teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about the baby classes. I mean, we are starting to come towards the end today. It's been an amazing conversation, but in my mind, I've got a picture of a baby dressed a little bit like John Travolta on Saturday Night Fever. But how do you get like a baby whose mobility, they're just learning how to crawl, and you know, they're just perhaps moving their arms, you know,
Yeah,
what do you do to get a baby dancing?
well, it's funny. I think because we do what we say in the tin, they diddy and they dance. Dance and movement was always the main focus. And so people had asked for years about developing baby classes. And I was very passionate that if I'm going to do this, it has to be really movement based. There are amazing baby classes out there, music and sensory and signing and all those sort of things, massage, that are really great for babies. But I didn't want to just launch a baby class for the sake of doing from 6 months old and it just actually be a music class. I wanted it to be really movement and dance based. So that's why I went to an early years movement specialist. She's been working in that field for tens of years, written books on it, worked with child psychologists to make sure developmentally what we were doing was right. But it is very much movement based. So we're doing lots of things to engage their feet. All of your nerve endings are in your feet. Lots of things where we are helping them move, but encouraging them for tummy time, helping with crawling, bringing out lots of props. So there is always going to be music and instruments as part of that, but it really is a lot more movement based. So again, with the grown-ups, it's a lovely bonding time with them. They're dancing with them as well. So we just finished our waltz. So they're all waltzing around the room together, but we're getting them sort of moving. We're not pulling their limbs about, but we're getting them moving as well. So that they're really starting to work what's called their proprioceptive and vestibular systems, because movement is so based to help brain development. And so yeah, I could go into nerdy stuff
Fantastic.
of it, but that's the key.
Sounds amazing, and clearly what you're doing with these new dances, new classes, different things that you can add on is what you're helping your franchisees do, as well as helping all of the people who benefit. Is you're helping them expand their businesses, not just find a new dance class, find a new set of students. It's expanding what you do with the people that already work with you. So, a great thing to do to help support your franchisees. One question I always love to ask, and I think we touched on this before, and we've touched on it quite a lot today, actually. But you've been running a long time. You've helped so many people. As a franchisor, you get to help franchisees. But you also get to help the teachers that are employed by your franchisees, and you then get to help the parents of the children that are dancing because they see happiness in their children. And of course, you get to help the little Diddi people that are enjoying their dancing. In those 22 years, I'm sure there are hundreds of life-changing stories and characters that you've met. But are there any particular stories that stick out in your mind?
Oh gosh, yeah, there would be loads and loads. But I think when a child comes to you that really is really shy, or when there are additional needs involved, when you see firsts that happen, that is, you love what you do, but that's when it goes to that next level. And so some of the send sessions that we've worked through Short Breaks UK with local councils, when you have a child that just suddenly makes eye contact with you or just suddenly holds your hand, those breakthrough moments, and sometimes it's so hard to compose yourself because from your level how emotional that makes you feel, and then you only have to glance once at their grown up as well and you can see it and it's all going, so you have to hold yourself together. But there are so many moments like that I think, especially in the early years, when they are taking their first steps, when they are saying their first words, when they suddenly come to you and give you a first cuddle or high five or just wave at you, those moments are special. And times like now, at Christmas or at the end of terms, when in the summer they say goodbye because they're going off to school, some of the cards and the gifts and the messages that you get from the grown-ups saying what a difference you have made to their lives, but also to the grown-ups' lives as well, for socializing. Don't forget, all the grown-ups are up joining in as well. So they are getting the benefits of lifting their mood moving to music as well. So sometimes the messages you get of how it has just helped them as well, it's just like, oh.
Oh, absolutely. And that life-changing story, that powerful moment feeds up the chain, right? So, you mentioned there about a little one holding someone's hand for the first time. It just reminded me, my son was born early. He was premature. I mean, he's 21 now, but when he was born, he was in his incubator and you couldn't pick him up. And they said to me that you can put your hand in there, and his little hand grabbed my finger, and that was the moment I became a dad.
Yeah.
And that emotion that I felt, I can empathize. And as I say, what will happen there is those little moments filter their way up from the child to the parent to the teacher to the franchisee and to your good self. And that's a wonderful thing, that those moments can be shared.
Yeah, it's
Um,
amazing being a parent, but it's amazing that you have an influence or an injection into so many other little ones' lives as well.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you can have that feeling several times over. I think that's why people teach. It's why people enjoy inspiring younger people
Yeah.
in any way. So I love that. We are about to enter the third chapter of today's episode, where we're going to be talking about the future. But if you have just joined us, this is Franchising Brand Stories. And today we have heard the story of Diddi Dance with the wonderful Anne-Marie Martin. If you have just joined us, please scan the QR code. It will take you right back to the beginning of today's episode. And if you catch a glimpse of this in the future, again, scan that QR code and you can watch the full episode at your leisure. So let's get into this final chapter. This is where we are going to now get the Franchising Brand Stories exclusive again. It's that time. So we spoke last time, and you mentioned about the baby classes that we spoke about in length, which is really exciting to hear how that's progressed, and and how that's really changing lives and helping your franchisees expand their business. But what's on the cards as we conclude 2024 and head into 2025? What exciting things are happening?
Wow, quite a lot actually, and it's great to have this call today because I had a really exciting call this morning. So we've got a couple of franchisees in the pipeline, and that is they're at various different stages, so that's all looking good. The baby classes are going really well, and we're keeping developing those. My operations manager is working on some more send work, but also working with a few of our franchisees on some new dance styles as well. So we're always bringing in new ones, but it's obviously quite a process because we want to make sure that we explore the dance style properly, simplify it down for toddlers. Then we need to get the music written. All of our music is original, so we have to get that written. So we've got a couple of new dance styles in the process. My call this morning was actually on some international early years work, which I've been asked personally to help write certain things for some international early years work. Also, it's really exciting actually, because that it really is part of a network that is global. I've been asked to also do some guest lecturing at colleges and universities in London into their early years courses as well. So that's amazing. So I think for me personally, getting to my ripe old age of being asked to do these things now, as well as hopefully an expert in early years movement, is great. But it's also great for Diddi Dance as well, because once we get those connections out there globally more as well, then we will really launch into international expansion as well.
Fantastic. Well, another exclusive on franchising brand stories. I'm going to end with asking you just to share some final thoughts for anybody who has listened to this and is interested in finding out a little bit more. While you do that, I would like to take people's attention to the QR code on the top left now, which is the Diddi Dance QR code that will take you to the franchising part of Diddi Dance's website. So please scan that. And Anne-Marie, perhaps you'd just like to finish off with your final thoughts.
For us, it's about come on board if you love working in the early years or you just love working with children. If you've found that your current career or whatever you've been doing, or now maybe you've taken some time off and the children are started school now and you want something for you, it's about finding out what your why is right now. And if that is about finding something flexible, but something that keeps you active, keeps you happy, keeps you moving, and gives back to your local community, then we'd really love to hear from you. We are always looking for teachers. We're always looking for Diddi franchisees and management franchisees. And even we also look for ambassadors as well. So we do a lot of work on social media. So we have a couple of ambassadors that shout about Diddi Dance for us as well, but lots of parents and grown-ups that come to classes that do a great job of spreading the word about Diddi Dance as well socially. So if you've got any interest in Diddi Dance and want to inquire about how you can be involved in many different ways, then yeah, scan that QR code. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. I'd like to finish by first of all thanking our wonderful live audience here today for taking the time to be with us, and for anyone who watches this in the future as well. And of course, I'd like to thank Anne-Marie again for sharing your story again. It's a story that is wonderful to hear, and thank you so much for taking the time. So that is it for today's episode, and that is it for Franchising Brand Stories for 2024. But we will be back in 2025. We will be kicking season 5 off on the 9th of January, Thursday, 9th of January, 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. And we're going to be speaking with Sarah Cresswell, OBE. And we're going to be finding out what's under the hat of the Creation Station. So please join us for that one on the 9th of January. Mark your calendars. And for our sister show, the Franchise Show, that will also be back next year, starting on Tuesday, the 7th of January at 5:15 GMT. 12:15 EST, and we are going to be speaking with the lovely Jen Chapman Boffin, and we're going to be talking all about franchise mental health and how important that is. We've got an exciting year ahead for both shows. Really looking forward to continuing these conversations with our lovely community and hearing many more stories. But until then, I hope everyone has a fantastic Christmas. Happy New Year to you all. And until next time, take very good care. Cheerio.
Merry Christmas.